Center for Urban Studies, National University of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. Oksana Remenyaka, head of the Art of the Innovative Technologies Department at the Institute of Contemporary Art of the National Academy of Arts of Ukraine. Leonid Maruschak, curator of Ukraine Crisis Media Center Art Initiative. Anastasiya Cherednychenko, chief editor at Museum Space NGO Center for Museum Development. And Lesya Hasydzhak, head informative-analytical department at the NGO Center for Museum Development. So, welcome on stage.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I would like to thank our team that they provided me with such a right to say the first word about our joint project, our joint idea about decommunisation project. And so I have 4 pages of my speech, but I would like to focus on the main. First, we present not the ready-made project, but a plan, idea, concept. Why we are speaking about it? Because we know that there is a problem with the law on decommunization, and this is a signal for those who face these problems. So if the terms allow to wait, so they wait, maybe in our guide you will find answers to difficult questions. We stress on the fact that our work is voluntary, and B, we are not some formal union. We call ourselves Circle of Friends. So we were motivated by our own responsibility. So we, on the basis of our experience, we plan to develop so-called guide or manual, and also more people, of course, joined this work, but they were not able to come here today. So what it is all about? First, about the structure. There will be several chapters. First, we will define terminology. In some situations, people do not understand the difference between monument, memorial, memoriam. So other issues will be connected with legislation. We should specify these issues, and this is not only about decommunization laws, but also all other relevant laws on the law of culture, on museums, etc. Separate block will be dedicated to the structure of local government. This will be a guide, a scheme, very practical, to whom to address in case of some problems. So people should understand the responsibilities of central and local government and the difference between them. What specialists should be involved in the matter to attribute a status or to cancel the status. And there are many conflict situations, and you know that there were such situations in Kiev connected with Shur's memorial. It means that we should speak about it more. The decisions, they should be discussed repeatedly together with specialists and community. We cannot deprive people of their right of vote, and people should be included, and community should be included in the process of decommunization in different spheres. So there are mosaics, monuments, memorials, archives, libraries, and other things. They have their specificity. So we shouldn't overuse this law on decommunization. We should preserve more and do not destruct things. And all of this will be provided with our comments, with analysis of some situations. It will be about 120 pages. So we will issue this guide in September, and also there will be e-version of the book, and it will be disseminated. So about why we do it and how we do it, my colleagues are going to tell you about it in their comments. So I would like to say several words. One of the reasons, my motivation, is that we went deep into tragic process of decommunization. So every person now in stress, and many people have post-traumatic stress. Everything is acute now in these circumstances. And how it is made, it even deepens our feeling of being victims. So the media and local community, should change our focus from speaking and acting in the system of coordinates of perpetrator, victim. We should go to the actions of decommunization and decolonization in the context of creation. Decommunization may not be fun, this is a serious work, but if we can replace this stress and to put more focus on opportunities, everything will be much more useful for society, and we want to dedicate our work to this cause. So the comments from our participants.
My name is Svitlana Shlipchenko. I have just several words to say. Vladyslav was right saying that co-creation and creation, this is the main focus to be. When we dismantle monuments, this is just empty in the landscape, but we should change our mentality, our way of thinking. We should not struggle with monuments, but just rethink the settings in which we live. We have had 25 years to change our landscape, but we failed. We should have rethought our past, but many people didn't want it for some reason. Rethinking of our past, this is a very painful and long-term process for all the parties involved, and it also requires public awareness campaign. We didn't have it. This was the first, and we should address this further in the law on decommunization. Some names of locations have been already changed. For example, Komsomolsk, they want to preserve their name, but we should explain people who were members of Komsomol and who they become now. They have decommunization process is painful. We are blamed of vandalism. We try not to struggle with monuments, but the problem is when in Germany it was the denazification process, and the Nuremberg process supported that. They just tried to put somewhere monument to Hitler in any public settings, but in our country communism was not
Ну, така акція широка, тому що, звісно, що Нюрнберзького процесу ми зараз не будемо мати. Тому мені здається, що це серйозно і справді, я погоджуюсь.
No verdict were issued about communism, so this is not productive to struggle. Both parties, the one which can support some renaming or monument replacement, and the other party which disagree with this, they just should negotiate. This is the normal way to achieve consensus. Thank you very much for your attention. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I would like to mention that for me and other colleagues who joined writing this methodologies, co-authors of this methodology paper, the process of decommunization is very important. It should have been conducted in 1990s, but it didn't, and after a very long time we returned to it. It is very important to conduct the decommunization process, and we would like to return it into the legitimate way, into legitimate path. We are the state which lives on the basis of law. We are governed by law, and we would like this process to be governed by law. And what about the attitudes to monuments, not as to pieces of artistic work? It was dismantled with the bulldozer machine. This work was created by Baradai sculptor. He is the author of Kishak and Khoriv and Libid monument, which we can see at the Dnipro embankment in Kiev, as well as the monument to motherland, which is also present in Kiev settings, the most famous one. So experts should have assessed this monument, which we can see on the picture. And now you can see that this is the monument to the horse. It doesn't have any connection, doesn't have any anything common with decommunization process. This was really an act of vandalism. So far, no measures have been taken to mend the situation with this monument to the horse. In our methodological paper, we will be also saying about holders of budget. There is no law concerning cultural heritage. This is the case of budget holder. In Soviet times, mosaics used to be made in the bus stops. Soviet monumental art rhetorics should be replaced with rhetorics of the art of the Soviet period. The same concerns wall paintings. Ukraine doesn't have any open resource describing, systematizing the heritage of Soviet times, but it it isn't assessed in terms of new found pieces of art. They are just painted over with some other paintings or flat paint. I would like to quote Oksana Remenyaka, who joined us. She said, "All of us are crying and weeping about those pieces of art of Soviet times. The same concerns the problem with symbols. You can see it on the slide. There are very interesting stories concerning them. The public awareness campaign is very important. You can see now a piece of mosaic on the Peremogi Avenue. This is the symbol of trident, but at the same time, this work made by famous artist Narbut, his pieces of art, they were destroyed because he was a dissident. He has a dissenting opinion in Soviet time, and here you can see how mosaics in the process of decommunizations were destroyed. It was just destroyed. And this, what monuments or what scenes will be based in those locations where monuments used to be standing. So Ukrainian flags or cries or crosses, this is not the right scene to be used as replacement for Soviet monuments. Now you can see another example near at the entrance way to Dnipro city. We would like also to emphasize that the monument and memory, they are different things. The statue to shores at Petluri and the Ukrainki crossing, streets crossing, one can see the monument and the other person can see the memory in this statue. And we address the cases of preserving mosaics of Soviet times. A very good example is when those mosaics are in private areas. In the process of decommunization, we usually forget how important was the process of mosaic, of making mosaics. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Oksana Remenyaka. I would like to break down my speech into two parts. Here you can see the work of Valentin Borisenko. He is a good sculptor. I knew him. It is very painful for me that his monuments were destroyed because I was his student. This was just wonderful work, and it was destroyed in barbaric way. Kyiv-Mohyla is also very famous sculpture, like Borodai, Borisenko, Lysenko. They were forced to live in that system and adapt to it and express their talents in Soviet times. We can't judge them, and we should not destroy monuments which they created. for some community to feel its nationhood. A very high level of abstract thinking is required in post-totalitarian societies. There are no such high level of thinking. That is why various monuments start working. That is why very talented artists were engaged by Soviet regime to support the ideology and propaganda. Ukrainian nationhood during 70 years of Soviet times and previous 25 years, just imagine how long this period was. And during that period, our patriots were pressed by the Soviet ideology, Soviet art. They destroyed physical things, and they destroy not those things which they really want to. This is the goal of our work. The last issue I would like to mention in Ukraine and in Kyiv there is a school of monumental paintings, and there are very many live representatives of the school who live in Kyiv. They reside here, and that is why they preserve these settings of Kyiv. Please listen to me and preserve our cultural settings, our cultural environment. We have 2 speakers left.
Second victim of decommunization is our museums, museum expositions and funds. I can say that part of museum specialists are frightened. Some of them, they cannot interpret the law, and some listen to some other people, and we will work on the chapter connected with museums. One thing I can promise is that we won't say that we should replace the monuments by other monuments or just put out information about revolutionary activists and put there some information about Petlura, for example. But we are going to speak about the directions, but the most work, the biggest share of work should be done by museum specialists. Ms. Cherednychenko, I would like to say that this is the matter of interpretation of exhibition, and the main idea of the document, as Ms. Maruschak said, that we work in a lawful state and we have laws, and about objects of the collection, about the items, they shouldn't be removed. The main for museum is the interpretation of exhibition, and it relates to decommunization and any other issue. So we are not for the Soviet Union. We are not nostalgic about it. We speak about methods, how it is done. Thank you. Dear friends, so this is the end of press conference. Please tell us about the deadline. When will it be ready, and who is the main audience? And maybe the experts What are the institutions? Lastly, we hope that this project will be completed in August, and in September we will have the presentation of the book about the representatives of institutions. The list is long. So this is Art Division of UCMC, National Art Museum of Ukraine, Center of Rabbinic Studies of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy, and also the representatives of Ministry of Culture, Center of Development of Museums, and Institute of Problems of Modern Arts of National Academy of Arts. Maybe I missed someone, but at the end, I would like to mention the Institute of National Memory, with which we cooperate. They did a huge chunk of work, and together with my colleagues, we believe that we should help them. The process is beyond formal decommunization. We have decommunization in our state, and we shouldn't waste this time. And our group that gathers people from different institutions that have different opinions, we discuss difficult issues and we find common ground, and our small team in some time will be an example of adapting the experience on the broader public. So thank you very much, and if you have some questions, you can put them off record, because we have next press briefing at noon.